don't know me, I'm your brother. I was raised here in this living hell. You don't know my kind in your world. Fairly soon, time will tell. You are telling me the things you're gonna do for me.
Like everybody. He's gonna eat a couple.
I ain't blind and I don't like what I think I see. Taking it to the streets.
And somebody else out before I let you go.
Taking it to the streets.
Welcome to Journey to Service. I'm William Laddick, and once again returning with us, Mayoralty candidate for Calgary, October 2021, Randall Earl Kaiser. Welcome back, Randall.
Hello, William. How's things?
Things are they're moving along, but that's my life. It's over in Vancouver, but I'm more interested in what's going on in Calgary. What's going on in your life? You must have had an interesting week. I mean, this is it, man. This is our last show before the actual votes get counted, or whatever they do with votes these days.
You betcha, brother. Well, yeah, I was on my way down here. I did a couple videos. You really like these ones where I was visiting with local Calgarians, and then I, just chatted with them and stuff like that. And all of those, I think, pretty well every one of them got turfed when our other YouTube channel got terminated over there. One little interview with CTV News, and it was such a minor mistake on one word, like it was so sad. But anyway, I wanted to make mention of John Earhart again. He's a man just down the street from where I am now in a veteran's tiny home. And what a beautiful man, related to Amelia Earhart and a veteran I think he was in, well, I don't want to say for sure which war he participated in, but he was a sniper and really amazing man, native heritage, and just a beautiful man to visit with. And then I'm on my way from here. I'm going to go down to Marlborough Mall. And on the corner there, I had a little quick visit with a guy named Evangelist Kadani. You remember that guy, William?
A little. Actually, I think you told me a little bit off camera here too. What happened?
Yeah. Oh, he's just a beautiful man. He stands on the corner and preaches some Christian views to the traffic. That guy. Remember now? You remember?
I remember. Yeah, you just have to say corner and preacher, and I remember now. So that's great.
And people honk at him and wave at him. He should be running for mayor. Honest to God, he'd probably get lots of votes. But I was on my way down. A couple quick stories. One on that votes thing. I seen this truck go past with a great big sign on it. A great big, like, I don't know, 10 by 12, something like that sign on both sides. And it's that Kevin J. Johnson. He's a mayoralty candidate too, eh?
Yep.
That guy just won't give up. Like he's in jail. He's in jail on the weekends for threatening AHS officials. And now he's been sentenced, but I shouldn't talk too much about this, okay? Because he could appeal it and he might get away with it. But some racial problems he had, talking pretty nasty language about. Oh, shit. Hold on.
Yes, there was an earthquake in Calgary, folks. Stand by. We have a technical issue with our camera right now. That's a higher power saying, "Hey, you better be careful what you say to about other people here now. Just keep it to your own campaign."
You're exactly right. Exactly right. So whatever is going on with Kevin is his business. And thank you very much for the reminder, William and God. You take care. God, both of you having to look after me like that. I'm telling you. Wait a minute. I'll go down here where the ground is flat. And then I set up my little machine again, and we'll be back on track.
Very cool. Well, as Randall gets readjusted there, I will mention, of course, as it's kind of obvious, but I might as well mention it anyway. Tomorrow is the Calgary election. We have done 29 shows, And this is the last show before the actual votes get counted. And it's a bit of an interesting time. A little bittersweet for me because I've really quite enjoyed these interviews. And, we're going to do another one next week after the votes get counted, talk about what's happening, what happened, and what's next. And we'll ask a few questions of Randall about that in the next little bit as well. But Randall looks all comfy now, back and ready to go. So what else happened this week, Randall, that we haven't quite touched on yet?
Okay, I want to apologize to Kevin because yes, he could appeal his current thing that's going on. So all the best to Kevin. And to Dean Hopkins, I listened to him speak the other day. What a great guy that one is. Zane Novak, he spoke a couple times at the rallies. He's getting a lot of attention from the, outside people that don't really go along with the kneeling procedure to government. So I wanted to just give those three guys a little kudos. It's a little tough with Kevin. I don't know, like I talked to him a couple times, but with those other guys, they were really calm and nice guys, and all good. So anyway, on that note of kneeling, I'm in the day three of a fast, 4-day fast that I usually go through, this moon cycle thing that I do, and you know that, William, and it's it was challenging for me this morning because it's like 20 degrees here today. It's just stunningly beautiful, and I was working up a little bit of sweat walking up here, so I stopped at this little ice cream place where I've stopped before, and they, I asked them if I could get some ice cream, and they said, well, you can't come in the store. And I said, yeah, I know, but can I just buy it out here? And they wouldn't let me. So today I went back and I thought I'd give it another try. And this time I said, what if I just put my cash on the counter here? There's a little shelf right by the door. I just reach in around and I'll put my cash there. And then you bring the change, and then you can even leave the ice cream cone sitting there on that little shelf, and I'll just take it. And these two staff members, we can't do that. We have to take your money at the counter. And I said, yeah, but just to get through this, because I really want an ice cream cone. And they said, listen, we can give you a mask and you can come in. I said, yeah, but I didn't do this either. Oh, well, then we can't serve you. And I said, well, yeah, I know, that's kind of silly, isn't it? But I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave. So I started heading off, and I walked a couple of steps to the crosswalk, and holy catfish, the manager came out of the store. And I mean, this is a place that's got a patio deck, right, for tea and coffee and ice cream if you want, and quite a big one. And there was a lot of people sitting there today, obviously. But I guess all of them went inside to pay, or they all had this. But anyway, she come running across and she says, listen, mister, don't you ever come back into our store ever again. She just come unglued on me. She says, you're bothering my staff. And I said, well, I just wanted ice cream. and she says, well, you know what's going on here. We got to follow the rules, and you got to follow the rules. And I said, well, I don't like the rules. I said, I think they're just ridiculous. And just getting an ice cream cone, and, this was all going in front of all of these people in front of a little ice cream and coffee shop. And I said, it's just ridiculous. Well, you take that up with the city then. And I said, well, I'm running for mayor. Randall Earl Kaiser. I thought, this is an advantage for me. I can talk to all these people, and I don't know how many of them were going to support me though. But I thought I'd let her rip anyway. And then, well, good luck with that. And off she went, and off I went. So that was one of my little interesting stories this morning. I have another, but I know you got something in there in between. So
you've had an interesting week. I mean, a very full week. I mean, you had an interview with Tarot by Janine. You also you visited CBC twice, and you also, I think, went to a couple of other media centers in this past week as well. Did you not?
I think that was the week before that I was at Global News and CTV. It was just CBC. I doubled up on them because they're kind of the worst. They got the B in between capitalism and communism, because that's all it's about is, keeping those people fighting. You got to have a kind of a liberal sided CBC and a conservative sided CTV news. I don't know what the CTV news is, just communist television. I don't know. No, it's capitalist television. That's what that one is. Remember, because that's more on the left leaning side or right leaning side. Gosh, I get mixed up with all that stuff, William. And that's why I come back to that old faithful saying of ours and John Kenneth Galbraith's, which is under communism, man exploits man. And under capitalism, it's the exact opposite, right?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe.
It's all about exploitation and all about keeping the separation between the capitalists and the communists. Keep people fighting, keep people arguing. That's what keeps them off track from the truth, from the one thing that they need to pay attention to, which in these days is pharmaceuticalism, because that's what's attacking everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a communist or capitalist these days. They're coming at you with that pharmaceuticalism, and they're going to fix you up your brain, you know, like get it all fixed up one way or the other, either in a control mechanism or dump a little bit of heavy metal in there and, you know, affect that pineal gland and the prions and all the good stuff that's in your brain that's supposed to get rid of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was wondering, I just want to go back to the media thing for a second. I mean, we saw your video, you know, the CBC visit, because you said you were going to go back there, and turned out to be, you know, what you kind of expected, which was not much, you know. But did you not have any other kind of experience with someone from CTV or with regards to a news story, not necessarily going to their, you know, center or whatever? But I thought there was something else that you did with a CTV reporter or something, or was that just the old one where he posted your video that ended up getting your previous YouTube channel closed?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Like it was, you know, he asked me to do a 1 minute video. And then when I did that 1 minute video, I slipped in one word that wasn't right. And maybe it was, I'm not going to speculate because it was going to CTV News or what, but YouTube just trashed my whole account. And I mean, it was third strike. So you know how that baseball game works, folks. And there's rules in baseball. 2 strikes, you can foul one off, but if you strike that word in that last one, you're out. And I was out. So it worked out good because, you know, a lot of my subscribers had kind of faded, and then Janine came through and hit a home run for me. Like, she has such a crowd of people. Like, my God, we're up to 40,000 views on that video that her and I did together. And a lot of those people are in Alberta. And through the 6 points of separation, or whatever they call that, you know, I've got a ton of people in Calgary now that are spreading the word for us, because it just, you know, it came back to them. They watched the video, they saw and listened, you know, which most people don't do. Like, they just want to hear what's in it for them, you know, like the political leaders that go out there and say, I'm going to get you lower taxes, or, you know, I'm going to get you this for your community, or, you know, the ones that are the lobby groups for the unions, I'll protect your union. Like all that stuff that goes on in that competitive world of social, I'll call it socialism and capitalism, but it's, you know, it's the next best thing to communism. And it certainly is these days. So yeah, it was, you know, it was just a blessing that Janine came along and interviewed me and had a good visit. So that was probably the best thing that happened in the last couple of weeks as far as boosting numbers, brother. That's for sure.
That was actually, it was a great interview. You guys had you know, a really good chat. It wasn't super long, and that maybe was an advantage. I know you don't like the extra long videos, so that worked out pretty well. I know that you had a great chat with Hamid as well this week. That was a pretty awesome video. I quite enjoyed watching you guys on that.
Yeah, it was nice. It was, you know, a little tender at the end. Hamid is such a beautiful man. I love that man. He's just got a heart of gold, and, you know, doing his best out there too in this world of wackiness these days to try and help people out. And that's what we're here for. We're not here to, like, you know, people want to talk about us like that we're conspiracy nuts because we're not following the rules. We're here to try and help people. And we're not trying to say that you're wrong. You want to keep doing that stuff, you go ahead. That's your choice. But freedom of choice is the basis of what we're speaking. It's about choice, and it's about, you know, loving each other and not condoning to mandates. And that's so interesting because that young lady that came after me at that ice cream store, she used the word mandate, and I didn't want to get under her skin anymore and try and ask her to take a look at the etymology of that word, because so many words, they'll get convoluted, like they think that mandate is a law. It's got nothing to do with law. It's a command. And a command is simply a voice of somebody saying something. And, they're commanding that we do something. But there's not even a legal statute behind this. It's just a mandate. And that's the ridiculous part of this, is that the governments are getting off the hook for any karma or any fight. Because this is the other thing that I did this week. I phoned into the constituency office of Jason Kenney, our provincial leader, right? So-called. He's got 22% acceptance rate these days. But then again, Justin Trudeau got in with 19% of the voters. So who knows, like in this democracy we live in, like really? Anyway, so Jason Kenney, I decided to call into the office there, the constituency office, see if I could get an appointment with somebody, just like I do with all these other little visits I have. And CBC and everybody else, no, they weren't going to come outside. You can't come in because of this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but can you send somebody outside, or can we talk? Well, what do you want to talk about? So I'm the manager of the office. And I said, well, I'd like to know, like, really, what's the real truth here? Because I'm hearing that they're going to mandate that people, if they don't get this thing, they're going to get fired, or they can't come back to work in the city of Calgary. And I said, I want to know. Well, just stop right there, she says. I said, what do you mean stop right there? She says, well, the city of Calgary is the biggest employer. And she called it, I don't know if she used the word company, but she said those are company rules and something along those lines. And that's the biggest employer. They're the ones that are choosing to talk like that. We're only encouraging it. So you see, the mandate or the command is different than a legal statute or a law, right? And all of this stuff is below God's law, which is simply do no harm, because this is all just causing harm and havoc, right? But that simple statement from her got me thinking a little bit more. And I thought, God, so, is everybody just bamboozled by the word mandate? If you're going to follow command, well, like I say, go back to the 10 commandments maybe and follow those, which one of them is do no harm, I think. Like, that's a command, but nobody seems to be interested in that anymore. There's some pretty good golden rules in there, golden nuggets of information in them 10 commandments. But no, let's just make mandates and legal statutes and bylaws and just, manipulate the masses. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but we're here to play and enjoy, and I'm ready for your next question.
I could tell you kind of were running out of air there for a second. Well, you mentioned choice. I mean, interesting that she said that, she was coming from a place of we encourage this, but somehow the word mandate came up, and it sounded like she wasn't taking responsibility that her department was issuing a mandate. It was just an encouragement. So she's then implying that the city somehow twisted the words and made it a mandate all of a sudden. Is that kind of how you interpreted that?
I honestly don't know how the fuck to interpret any of this stuff. Like, honest to God. And then, the only word I can come up with is that one to say how ridiculous the whole thing is. Because if a mandate is a command, then the encouraging, commanding words of Jason Kenney would be the mandate, wouldn't it? Because otherwise, what is the mandate? It's not a written rule or anything. It's just a command, which is verbal, so is there even going to be anything written down when they get to the point of mandating this? I don't know. Are they just simply telling people to do it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it gets into these restaurants and stuff. I mean, God almighty. And then they just will not serve you. Like, it's just dividing and dividing the people at that level. because of this lunacy, like there's nothing written down. She's afraid of somebody coming in and maybe giving her a ticket, I guess. I don't know. That's another thing. On the way down here, there was a brand new AHS, Alberta Health Services, one of those little vehicles you can't carry people in. They're just like a little cop car, right? And it was sitting on the side of the road. The two officials were having a coffee on the hood of the vehicle, brand new looking. So I walked up and I thought, I'm gonna have a chat with these two because God sent them. I'm right here, and I'm just walking past. So that's the way I function. So I walked up and I said, how many of these brand new babies did you guys get in the last year? This one's not brand new. It's from last year. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's when this all started. But anyway, I didn't argue that. But, brand new vehicles. And I said, are you guys the ones that run around giving tickets to people and stuff? No. We're just support staff for AHS. I said, yeah, but you got like emergency lights and, dingers and those sirens in these things and everything. Like, where are you going? Support staff, he goes. And I'm like, okay. Like, I just didn't want to argue with that because that's all he could say. And I mean, it's not an ambulance. You can't put anybody in the back seat. I don't know what's in there in the back seat, but it's like a little Jimmy or what do they call those? Like a short and suburban in the GMC vehicle, but Bronco in Ford, I think.
Those mini trucks kind of thing. Yeah, I get it. All right, let's shift a little bit here. You were talking about choice. Everyone has a choice, and the lady was telling you that they were telling the businesses and the city and all of those folks that it's a choice, but a recommendation sort of thing, and it's their choice as to what they want to do with it. I want to talk about choice for you now. Tomorrow night, the results of the election will be coming forward, the actual vote count election. And where are you going to be? What choice are you going to make as far as where you're going to be when you are finding out the results? What are your plans for tomorrow night?
Probably just home. Like I'm planning on going down to City Hall tomorrow because I'm still on the ballot and they haven't taken me off yet for going inside City Hall and talking in there. We were all asked to, at this rally thing, we were all asked to, make a little speech, but don't promote yourself in a candidacy manner, really. So I did that, and I kind of confused people more than anything, I think, by the sounds of it, because I only said, I'm on the ballot for mayor was the last words that came out of my mouth at that speech with all the rally people. This week, they had one of the same candidates that got another run added on the mic, and then another guy. I mentioned those two guys, Dean Hopkins and Zane Novak, and they did good jobs, but it sounded pretty political to me. Like, that's just me, like I was trying to say things like, I'm involved with the banking industry at the levels of credit manifestation and asset-backed funding that's coming through, and the whole idea of credit manifestation speaks to and explains the idea that taxes are completely nonsense and that talking about taxes and lowering and raising taxes is just political rhetoric, because most of the funding for a city the size of Calgary, funding that comes from the federal and provincial governments, is based on this credit manifestation system. So, I tried to talk about that a little bit, but it's too much for a lot of people to try and put that into their heads when it comes to the city of Calgary, because we're still thinking in terms of that competitive nature, as human beings. It's like, yeah, but what's it going to do for me, and that's hard. Like, what did JF Kennedy say? Ask not what your country will do for you, but what you can do for your country. What happened to that? Everybody forgot about that, I guess, because that was back in the 60s or whatever, eh?
Yep.
But these lobby groups, and there's one mayoralty candidate that's got all the money back in her from the unions that are Calgary City employees, and another one, he's got the money from the capitalists. It's just amazing. I've never been involved in politics, so this is why I'm so, maybe light about it, if you want to call it, or I find it humorous, because it's humorous, like to see the kind of money that these guys are pumping out. they only get like 100 grand a year wages out of this thing, and they got to live off that. So these, obviously, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're spending on signs and advertising and spamming my Facebook and stuff like that, how do they get all that money? Oh, you go first, and then I got one about Facebook, a little story.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think I'd rather listen to your Facebook story first, because I might move in a different direction and it may not fit after that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, yeah, I kind of sprung that on you. Sorry, brother. But yeah, I'm up in the middle of the night last night. I got over my head cold that I had this week. Just a little bit of what do you call it? Hydroxychloroquine, Trump stuff. The Trump
Something
juice.
like that. Trump juice. Yeah, we call
Trump
it.
juice. Yeah, call it Trump juice. So we had some of that, and then I had some tea with honey and mint and ginger, recommended by my girlfriend. Wink, wink. And then we went on from there to start this fast, and my cold just disappeared. And that's usually what happened in the old days when Grandma used to do stuff like that to us when we were kids and we got a flu bug, like what's devastating the earth right now. Like, really? Not devastating the earth? There's not really much difference than the flu bugs that we had when we were kids, and Grandma told us what to do instead of taking this for it or putting this on your face wherever you went for it, causing people not to even go into places because of it. Goodness gracious, people. Anyway, so the Facebook thing. I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I'm scrolling a little bit on Facebook and chatting with a few people that are in other nations and stuff like that, other parts, time zones. And I bumped into a couple more of these spammers, right, that are just pumping them. Ward 7, Ward 9, mayoralty candidates, and then even some advertisements that are linking in the politics and stuff. And I thought, okay, they have a comment section below. So what I said was, thank you for your spam advertising opportunity very much, my friend. And then I put a link to my video on all these things, and it went to a whole bunch of these politicians and stuff. I don't know if they deleted them or not. I didn't care, but I did. Once I got onto it, I thought, well, this will put me back to sleep. I did about 20 of those, as you scroll down, you know what it's like, these spammers, and especially when it comes to political campaigns like this, they're all over the place. Spam, spam, spam. So I commented back to a whole bunch of them. Anyway, that was kind of fun. That's my way of doing it. This running for mayor. Just walk with whatever happens right in front of you and let her up.
Awesome. I can't help but notice, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of that story about the head cold. You had a head cold. You had a head cold for all of like 36 hours. And, it kind of reminds me of something interesting. I have a friend who will remain nameless at this point, who basically said the same thing that she's going through. She said that she's got a head cold. And I also know that she also got one of those things in the arm. And darn thing, just the head cold just won't go away. It just won't go away for some reason. I just don't know why. And when I hear your story, you're so lighthearted. You take it so well. I find it heartbreaking. I find a lot of things that you've said today heartbreaking because of the choices that people have made. And yet, you're proof. You're actually, you're walking proof of what we've just been going through. All of the talk that's been going on, and I got to watch my words now because otherwise I'm going to get both of us banned. But you had a head cold, and you had a head cold for all of 36 hours. You did some really cool, natural things that you can find in your local grocery store. And it's gone. No, nothing in the arm. No, and mandates or wearing, ladies' underwear on your face or anything like that. You just got through it. And I guess my question to you, and I have, a couple more things too. I want to talk about the election too, but does it ever get to you? Does it ever get to you and say, my heart breaks for these people that believe all this stuff and act on it? I mean, does it ever get to you and you sort of feel disheartened by it all, or how do you cope with that? How do you transmute that for yourself?
Gosh, William, that's a tough one. I've always been a very compassionate man, and I am to this day. Like I have compassion for all human beings, for animals. I love animals. I love trees. I don't want to see trees cut down. I have this ultimate compassion in my soul, but I don't have a lot of sympathy. And I've run into that a lot in my life, where people will say, "What the hell's the matter with you? Don't have any sympathy for somebody that died or did something," And I have compassion for them, but it's our choices that are so there in front of us all the time, and to choose to just continue to, follow along with government things that without doing any research on it, without thinking about your own temple and how you can build your immune system so that, you don't need anything. Like you can do it with, like I said, ginger and a little bit of grapefruit peels. That's how I made my Trump juice. And then I didn't even have to go so far as the horse medicine. I mean, that's that Ivor stuff, not the horse Ivor, but Ivor.
Yeah. Your buddy Ivor. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, my buddy Ivor.
Mr. Mecton. We like to call him Mr. Mecton. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Mecton. Yes. So that guy. I didn't have to go there either. Like if I would have got a little sicker, if it would have got down into my throat or into my lungs and I'd be coughing or something, and I did a little bit, but that all left right away too. But then maybe we could have visited Ivor, Mr. Mecton, but didn't have to. And it's amazing how Mr. Mecton is banned, Again, it's...
You know why? He probably said something that he shouldn't have said on YouTube. That's probably why.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the talking horse thing is Mr. Ed comes to mind, but we're kind of getting twisted off here into that, because we kind of got to twist our words a little bit, or else we'll be back on the banned list. So yes, I'm sorry to everyone that suffers. Don't get me wrong, I am. Do I have sympathy for people that make shitty choices? Not really. Wake up is basically what I'd like to say. It's your temple. This is your body. Look after the damn thing. You know what sugar does. You know what chemicals do. You know what this thing does. And if you don't know what that thing does, then you should look into it and research what it is. Like, good God, just going in because you want to go to the hockey game or you want to go into your favorite restaurant and getting this. I don't have sympathy for somebody that wants to do that. Do I have compassion for them and love them? Of course I do. But, wake up, I guess. I don't know what the word is. I hate to use that word too, but let's go off on a different topic.
Okay. I think I
getting uncomfortable.
Bumped you a little bit on that one. Yeah, I want to talk about the future a little bit. And I know that you don't, step forward too much, but I still wanted to ask, and we might follow up on this next week too. But I had a two-pronged question, and all based on what happens tomorrow night. So what happens what will you do? What's the first thing you're going to do, and what happens if you get the most votes versus all the other people running for mayor? And the other half of the question is, what happens next if you happen not to get the most votes for the run of mayor?
Well, the answer is the same for both, okay? Because we're not going to get the no votes. I'm not going to answer that one because we are going to be the mayor. It'll either be the sovereign mayor or the legal mayor. So I'm still going to be the mayor no matter what. I like to use that one because I don't like the negatives, and you know me, I don't like to think about or answer questions about what'll happen if I don't. So as the mayor and the sovereign mayor of Calgary, we will see accountability at the government levels that are above us, supposedly above us, right? So Jason Kenney, Pierre Trudeau, see that sign that says Calgary city limits? That's where your limit is, okay? You're not coming in here unless you talk to me ahead of time and start answering some questions, real good, solid answers, okay? Not spinning around political rhetoric. So that's your limit there, Mr. Kenney and Mr. Trudeau. That's the one thing that'll happen. And the other thing that's going to happen is that every one of these counselors that is voted in is going to hear my complete, utter truth, all of it, and not be held back about what I think of this ridiculous thing that's going on Earth, let alone in Calgary. You know, there's just the ridiculousness of it. And because I'm not on YouTube in council chambers for that, I'm going to speak my truth, and it's going to come out with the words. There's not going to be holding back on the C word or the V word or the I word or any of that. It's going to all come out. And if they choose to ban me from City Hall for that, I don't think they can, right? So that's the next thing that's going to happen. The other thing that's going to happen, William, is that this asset-backed funding is going to roll, okay? It's going to roll. And there is no doubt in my mind anymore. If you just watch a few of the minor alternative media things, if you pick up on some of the mainstream media that's out there scared shitless of the collapse of the current monetary system, right? Scared shitless. Well, I'm here to say, don't be scared. We're here to bring in this asset-backed funding to walk past these government officials. So we don't have to worry about government. We'll look after the social programs. We'll look after the social inequities with private project funding. And if you got something that's in those lines, step up, because there's going to be lots of money for that. And it's funding, not finance. Don't forget. And that is going to happen too, William. And I guarantee it'll be before the end of this month. Okay. And guarantees are always up to someone else. Oh, he said it and then it didn't work. Well, I guarantee it. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, are you guaranteeing it because none of the other ones worked before? So what the heck? You're just going to throw it out there, or are you guaranteeing it as if you actually are going to make sure that it happens?
I make sure it's going to happen. And I mean, I'm involved with so many people at that level that I know it's going to happen. Will I promise? That's a different story. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Promise.
Okay.
See, promises are, to me, that's fidelity. That is dear to my heart. Okay. Fidelity is a beautiful word, like trust, but it's faith and trust, right? But that's a promise to me is right there. So I'm not going to promise anybody anything. You got a lot of work to do on our own. Okay. Sorry, not you, William, but I'm talking to the viewers. If you're still drawn into this narrative, then you got a lot of work to do. If you're still thinking that you're going to gain something instantly, then you got a little bit of work to do. If you think it's about speculation and investment, you still got a little bit of work to do. If you know, like I know that this is going to change humanity, then you're ready. And then you're ready to come into this as someone who's saying, what is it that I can do for my country rather than what my country can do for me? And then those people will step up and the funding will be released, and we're going to move into a beautiful age. It's just that simple. Sorry.
I think we all have, we're all going to have work to do one way or the other, because as the funding comes through, as you're suggesting that it will, then there's going to be these projects and these activities, and that's going to be more work. There's going to be a lot of work that needs to be involved there, a lot of manpower, a lot of shifting of ideas, a lot of shifting of attitudes, a lot of planning, a lot of steps to be taken. I think that in some ways, this is kind of like, I won't say the calm before the storm, because that's been overused, but it does feel like we've been, in one way, we've kind of been resting. And as this thing comes about, then all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of activity. There's going to be a lot of things going on. So even though it's been emotionally challenging for a lot of people, what we've been going through the last year and a half, it's going to be a different kind of ride, is what I'm getting and what I'm imagining. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it'll twist a lot of people's heads when it happens, because there's so many things that are coordinating together to make that happen. If you can imagine, William, like it's not just a change from Swift or IBAN to QFS. We're talking about quantum computing at the highest levels. We're talking about military generals that are working together in the banking system and cleaning up all of the messes that have been happening on this earth for many, many years based on profit and greed in that capitalist versus communist, bullshit story, like it's going to be so many changes that nobody, including me, can predict and promise what is going to happen. Okay, I can guarantee that there's going to be changes, but I can't promise that I know what's going to happen.
It's a funny thing that you mentioned that. I don't want to talk too much about my own experiences in this particular show, because it's a show before the election, and I want to focus mainly on activities and things around your world and your campaign. But I will share one thing, and that is just before we got to the recording, I sat and did some meditation, and I've been hearing a lot, in the spiritual circles too, that encourages people to focus on focus on the kind of world you want to build. What do you want to create? Spend your mental time on that. And be damned if I didn't have a heck of a time trying to do that. Like I kept thinking, my mind kept going on to the challenges, the thoughts, the people that are struggling, or the people that have had this, that are going to have some things to deal with perhaps. So there was all of that, but it was just, I was actually getting annoyed at myself that I couldn't seem to get my mind to shift into what kind of world I want to create. And yeah, I felt a little annoyed by that. But is there anything that you do that you, as like a self practice, that you bring to yourself to kind of keep you on track to visualize the creation that you want to see manifest?
Oh yeah, every day, William. I have about an hour's worth of Randall religion, I'll call it, okay? Because that's I do it the same every day, and it's not following a religion. Everybody just create their own and manifest their own religious practices, right? So my spiritual practices for each morning for at least an hour, and it includes some stretching and breathing and stuff like that. But I posted a thing on my Facebook page, and I've already got 40 people looking at it or more just a few minutes ago, and this is something that I say, but I don't want to say it in a manner that I think I'm the only one doing this. So I said, how would you like to, or see how this fits, okay? And these are some words that I'm going to repeat now or recite here, and see how it fits for you, because I am, but you are, okay? So I am being the great I am that Jesus Christ taught us, right? And but you are also, you see, that's the thing. The key is to know that great I am, that godliness is within everyone and everything every day. That's a huge thing to accept and surrender to eventually, that I am. So I say this thing, and I'll say it here, and then we'll probably tidy up pretty quick here, William. We're getting close to the hour, I think, but I want to say this. So I tied it into my chakras. So there's the chakras that come up through your body as well. And I think of those chakras when I say it. So I am the abundant, healthy, sovereign, loving, harmonious, imaginative man, co-creating abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria for all. As the sender, the receiver, and the one who shares the abundance of God's energy and Mother Earth's precious treasure to the people for their comfort and projects that are beneficial to all, that do no harm. And those very words, I put those on my page, like I said. And, you know, I say that to myself more than once a day. I say that to myself a lot. And that feeling of I am is what I want to say to other people. You think that way too. Just think that you've got that much power that you can bypass this central bank system and allow the precious treasure of Mother Earth and God's energy, which is within you, to put those funds through, because the funds are there. There are off-ledger accounts, there's all kinds of treasure, and there's all it takes is the human energy to get it done. So does that help?
Yeah, well, it does. And, you know, everyone's unique too. And we're all part of the big picture. We're all part of, you know, that universal energy, if you will. And, you know, I'm sure that not everyone's going to do the same thing, but if they want to emulate what you're doing, they can find their own way of doing it. You know, that they can find what feels right to them and follow that. But I think that's great words of wisdom as far as that goes. And you know, you mentioned Jesus Christ, you know, in that answer as well. And a number of shows back now, I wanted to bring that subject up, which is also another subject that a lot of people don't like talking about, especially when they're talking about politics. So, but you have an interesting, I found personally, in talking to you privately, you know, you have an interesting viewpoint, if you will, or connection with Jesus Christ as far as how you see the man and the whole story of the man. Could you share a little bit of that with the viewers, you know, whatever you're comfortable in sharing with, and how does Jesus have an impact on your life, and how do you use some of the things that he did in your life?
Well, that's good, William, because I don't think of Christian religion when I speak of Jesus Christ. I think of a man, okay? And a man and his wife, in fact, you know, and their children, because that's what I believe. And a man who learned a lot of his, you know, private, personal religious practices, okay? Because religion is individual in my mind. It's not about following a bunch of people or following anybody. It's about learning and practicing your own religious, spiritual, and physical activities, and mental. You know, it's about the mind, body, and soul. Once you learn some stuff like that, practice that, reset your subconscious mind yourself, rather than letting the television do it or the government do it or something like that. Just set your own path, you know. That's what sovereignty is to me, in fact. You know, that's the idea of sovereignty. It's not so much the paperwork that we have or the, you know, that kind of stuff. It's about setting your own stage, right? So, you know, don't forget that man in the biblical terms, they said that he traveled to the east. You know, he went into the nations that had different religions than Christianity, and brought a lot of that teachings back to his own, you know. So the idea of Christianity being a religion is there, but saying that Jesus Christ, the pattern man, is the pattern that I followed has nothing to do with religion. It's the respect for a man like that. I believe was ultimately beautiful, loving, compassionate, passionate. You know, he just did it all, and I have so much respect for that. Did Muhammad do that? Did Buddha do that? Did Lao Tse do that? Yeah, they're good guys too. I grew up, you know, in this Christian kind of background, so it was easier for me to attach to Jesus Christ, and you know, so I mentioned his name. But it doesn't matter. Those other stories still talk about one God and break it down. And Muhammad talked that way, and Buddha talked that way, and Lao Tse talked that way. So don't give me this bullshit about separation. Those people were beautiful, wonderful teachers of the truth, which is simply the truth of everlasting life being the secret behind it being unconditional love, which is God, like that's what all of the religions really teach if you break it down. But if you want to get off on, doctrine and arguing, well, you can go anywhere. Obviously, this religion's been a real problem for many years with humanity, but that's about all on that front.
That's awesome, Randall. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I kind of feel like it's a good place to kind of wrap up the show. I do wish you all the most fun you can possibly have tomorrow, regardless of what happens. I know that's not going to change you, regardless of what the number of votes. It's not going to mean anything different to Randall. He's still going to do his thing, no matter what it looks like. And I admire that a lot. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this process. Sometimes felt very touched, sometimes felt like, what am I doing here? And sometimes it's an honor and a pleasure and just a full gamut of feelings. I'm grateful for the ride, and we're going to do it at least one more time next week, and then we'll figure out what we do after that. But Randall, thank you so much. And here's to having a great day tomorrow, regardless of what happens. And I'll pass it to you to do our final closing blessing and final words. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Okay, so I'll do the little thing that we always do, and then just hang on after that because I got a little.
Oh, you got a little story for us, yeah? Okay.
Little special. So, with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything, every day on William and my minds. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Keep having fun, singing some songs, and these people that are walking the dog are going to hear this too, because get ready, William. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things that he truly feels, and not the words of someone who kneels. Let the record show I took some blows and did it my way.
Love you, Randall.
I love you too. Catch you later. Thanks, William.